we need to talk about the upcoming legislative session. So I figured I'd put a call out to our House Speaker, who I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. So I'm a call back to was it day before yesterday. How did the President of the United States pronounce it, John? Let me hear it.
Louisiana Speaker Phillip DeVillier.
Phillip DeVillier. Speaker DeVillier, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great this morning. I think my last name has changed a bit over the last couple of days, but I'll take it.
How does it feel to have the President of the United States turn you into a character from an Anne Rice novel?
Look, man, anytime you get the opportunity to do a major announcement in Louisiana with, Speaker Mike Johnson, Steve Scalise, the governor, not to mention our LED Secretary Susan Bourgeois, and of course the president. I mean, I don't care how he says my last name. Let's celebrate, right?
I mean, you had 5 guys from Korea in the room. When it comes to pronouncing their names, he nailed every one of them. But between you and Clint Quinmall, he couldn't hit it. He just swing and miss.
It's okay. It's okay.
No. Hey, look, if $5.8 billion worth of growth is coming to our state, I'm taking it all day long.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're seeing this time and time again. Louisiana is bringing home, just so many wins. Our governor's doing a phenomenal job. Everyone's working together to move Louisiana forward. And we just have so much wind in our sails. We need to keep it up.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit because y'all are going to be on the clock in just shy of 3 weeks from now. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to continue with the announcement from the other day. Take us inside the White House, because that is, it's not every economic development announcement gets announced from, I believe y'all were in the Roosevelt Room?
That's correct, yeah. It was the way that they had planned everything out. It was seamless. We had a certain time to be there. We had to do background checks and everything prior to arriving. And they just walked us straight into the waiting room, the West Wing waiting room. We were able to visit, of course, with Mike Johnson, the Speaker Mike Johnson, and Steve Scalise. We actually saw a few of the cabinet members coming out. I think they had a cabinet meeting right before we had got there. So, that was really exciting. Get to visit a little bit more with the Korean group, just a great group of people. And, we were walked into the Roosevelt Room. Certainly had a lot of press in the room, and the president walks out. It seems like everyone just kind of, it was just a really calm environment, which was surprising because I'm kind of a wound up person. And, when the president walked out, it seemed like a lot of the anxieties just went away, and just a great time. And it's just something to be very excited and proud about.
Interesting. Because I would have imagined it being the polar opposite, because number one, you have all the history of the building, and I'm a huge fan on that front, but you have all the business of the day for the entire world funnels through that building. And there's so much going on in so many different directions, and just everything under the sun funnels through, more so the West Wing than anything else. But it just, to hear your take on it is honestly refreshing. To say kind of everything else goes away and you're just in the moment.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I guess I would describe what was going on in the West Wing, and I guess in the White House, was very similar. If you go to the Capitol the first few days of session, you could just see the amount of business that was taking place and the churning that was going on. It was just a lot of activity, but it was all very, very structured and organized. It wasn't chaotic at all. I was very impressed.
We've got Speaker Phillip DeVillier on with us. He is about to slam that gavel down to start things off and dole out a whole bunch of bills to a whole bunch of committees. Speaker DeVillier, are we in a unique spot? Well, I shouldn't say unique, but an unusual spot this year, because a lot of pre-filed legislation is going to have to wait until after we find out what happens with Amendment 2?
No, look, I think to continue the path of moving Louisiana forward on a historical front, it's very important that we do pass Constitutional Amendment number 2. I don't know that we have a whole lot of legislation that's waiting to see it pass or not pass. Certainly, we would love to see it pass, and we feel like we have good momentum right now to do so. We don't want anyone to get relaxed, though. We want everyone to get out to vote, and certainly want to work with us to move our state forward. But legislation is being filed, and normal legislation. We're certainly focused on the April 14th session coming up. We do have some priorities in front of us that we want to, certainly see pass and be successful to continue what we're trying to do and moving Louisiana forward. But we did a lot of the tax reform work in the special session that we had in November. So that takes a lot of that, the fiscal side of things out of the way, so to speak. But we're really, really hopeful that we can get Constitutional Amendment number 2 passed for the entire state of Louisiana.
I want to keep it with Constitutional Amendment number 2, if we could, for just a second, because
sure.
There seems to be, I don't know how large the contingent is that's opposed to it, but they are certainly vocal. And there is a worry that religious buildings could fall under a property tax with the passage of Amendment 2. Julie Emerson doesn't read it that way. The governor doesn't read it that way. How do you read it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think every single religious building is safe, just like it was before. Julie Emerson's doing a phenomenal job, as well as the governor, getting around the state and explaining those things. So I don't really understand where the hesitation is with Constitutional Amendment number 2 at all. Look, I see some of the negativity that's out there on social media. Most of what you see is just vote no on all 4. I just don't understand why you would be against moving our state forward. But Constitutional Amendment number 2 does so many good things. I can't find a single thing that it does negatively. And look, if there's any hesitation that someone's concerned about a building that may be on, I would say, a church ground and it now being taxed, certainly we can look more into that. But there's no one in the legislature, and no one that wants to do that. They do not want to tax any religious churches. They don't want to tax religious buildings and grounds. So I just think that's a fear that is just not there in Baton Rouge. We do not want to do that. No one wants to do that.
And to hear the rhetoric from that side, it makes me feel like, did I just wake up in Oregon this morning? This is not who we are.
Yeah, and that makes me, I'm glad you bring that up. It makes me feel like some of these things are being funded from outside groups and just trying to not want to be a part of the positive change in Louisiana. And it makes no sense.
We've got Speaker Phillip DeVillier on with us, previewing the upcoming legislative session. That being said, though, there are a number of pre-filed bills already. So what's in the hopper now? Have you had a chance to take a look at anything that has caught your eye?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you, I've been around the whole state over the last several months, just listening to my members, talking to their constituents, and consistently what we hear is insurance. People are very concerned with the cost of insurance, and we've worked hand in hand with the governor, with the Senate, with our House members to try to come up with a good package of bills to address the problems we have with insurance. But it's not a one bill that fixes it all. We're looking at pretty much every piece of the stool to see how we can bring them all together to address the problems we do have and the problems that we can address when it comes to insurance reform in our state. So that's one thing. Another thing that I hear is concerns over DOTD. And I'll say that historically in Louisiana, DOTD has always been a place where you would go in and, I'm going to air quote, kiss the ring. And through politics, you would maybe get a road or a bridge repaired. And the governor, as well as the legislature, we want to reform DOTD to where it's an agency that does the work through priorities. And, once we get that DOTD reorganization done, we certainly going to need to fund that organization to be able to get these roads and bridges repaired and finally make infrastructure a priority. A lot of people have said that in the past. They didn't really mean it. This administration means it. So, we're going to put our infrastructure as a priority. I would expect to see some things on civil service, oil and gas reform. Look, a lot of Louisiana was built on the backs of oil and gas. We want to see that come back and crucially define what energy is in our country is oil and gas. So, I would expect to see some things on that front as well. We're really excited to see the momentum we have in our education department. As you're aware, you've seen all of the new rankings come out and even the president spoke about Louisiana moving forward when it comes to education. How can you not be proud of that? So we want to continue the path on focusing on education and working with Cade Brumley. He's doing a phenomenal job. We also want to support Susan Bourgeois with LED. She is a rock star. And you see all these new announcements coming in. And I think personally, we're just getting started. So, that's going to be great. Continuing our work on taking care of the problems we've had in the past with crime and continuing on that path. So we have a lot of great things that we're looking forward to. We really, really need to get out the vote on Saturday and get Constitutional Amendment number 2 passed.
We've got Speaker Phillip DeVillier on the hotline right now, and though he's on the phone, I feel like he's looking at my notes because I actually have written down for my next question, talking about Dr. Brumley and talking about Susan Bourgeois. These are two areas where success is begetting success. Is there a way to legislatively replicate that for other departments?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And I mentioned earlier when when you think about DOTD and how DOTD was used, it was really more of a political organization. It wasn't so much of a priority for the state. And I think what our governor's vision is to truthfully make infrastructure a priority. I had mentioned in passing, so why don't we just give DOTD a LED, because LED seems to be doing a great job with bringing businesses here. But when businesses come and look at Louisiana, they want to see that we have infrastructure in place to be able to get very important inventory in and out. And, so there's going to be new roads that need to be built, some bridges that need to be repaired, and things of that nature. And through touring the whole state, you see some very important businesses that we do have in Louisiana, but some critical infrastructure that needs to be repaired. So, I think the governor is very well focused on streamlining some of these departments. There are roadblocks that have been put into place for many, many years. So, change is difficult for a lot of people, but change is needed. And I think when these changes are put into place, you're going to see Louisiana and where all the other states are going to say, we want to be like Louisiana now, instead of saying Louisiana's last or Louisiana's 40th. Now we're getting to the middle of the pack in a very short time. And it just amazes me why anyone wouldn't want to be winning, because that's what we're doing right now. We're winning.
Just a couple minutes left with Speaker DeVillier. All right, you actually led with it, and then I blew right past it to get on other things. So let's go back around to insurance. How large of a priority is insurance going to be in this session, and how much farther can we go? When we saw last year, the legislature did its job when it came to collateral source and a few other things, and just ran into, to use that phrase, roadblocks as well. How far can we go with insurance this year? Is there a way to reword things that passed last year to will they make it across the governor's desk this year?
Brian, I will say I believe that the governor had got a little bit of bad press over the one bill that didn't become law, which I applaud him for what he did, because what it caused us to do was all come back to the table. And I tell you all, our insurance committee meetings, our civil law, multiple committees have been meeting since the end of last year to come up with real insurance reform. And if that bill would have just been signed, I don't think that would have happened. I don't think we would have continued to work, number one. And number two, if that bill would have been signed, I don't think it'd have done anything to help our insurance rates. So one of the things that I've learned is when you look at insurance as a whole, is it just the collateral source rule? An interesting thing about that is, a few years ago, we went from 100% down to, I think, 40%, and we did not see any insurance rates change. So I don't know why we're going in with these percentages and then telling the courts to say, hey, you come up with whatever the settlement is, and then you're going to calculate a percentage. Even with that law in place, none of that has been done. What I think we need to do is to go look back at that law and then say, what is it that we can do to help the judges and the juries have full transparency in what's going on in all of these different cases and all of these different billing cycles. And it would be called more of a medical transparency piece. So that's important. One of the things that we hear every day when people get called for jury duty is, hey, can you help me, let the judges know that I have work or I can't go to jury duty? Well, we need to really look at jury pool reform and figure out how we can get more people to these juries to make sure that we have, good, solid juries, and that it works more in I guess, hand in glove with the court system. We had looked at a Housley bill last year. I would expect that to come back.
Yeah.
No pay, no play. I would think you're going to have some caps on damages, but it's not just the trial bar. I mean, you got to make these insurance companies go to court and fight these cases. We have to look at what's going on when it does come to the court systems. You got to look at, of course, the trial bar. And we also have a cultural issue in our state that believe that if you get injured, it's the lottery. And I don't know how, you can address that piece other than us, trying to do just a better job in fighting back on these frivolous lawsuits. So we have a whole lot of work to do. Last year, we passed 38 insurance reform bills, and all you hear about is one. And it's interesting because I was reading an article this morning on property insurance and all these other states that are really having a reduced amount of people buying property insurance because they can no longer afford it. We have that problem as well, and we all know that. But we're not at the top of the barrel. I mean, you look at Florida, you look at other states. I mean, they're really having some huge problems when it comes to people just buying or being able to buy insurance. So we don't want that to happen, or we want to reverse the trend of that happening in Louisiana. And we're working with our members on the House. We're working with the Senate President, and we're also working with the governor to come up with a good package of bills to hopefully address these issues. But it is a very, very difficult thing to address. But it is a priority for everyone in the legislature. We have to work together and not focus on just one piece of it, though, because it's multiple legs of the stool.
So I agree with you completely in principle, but I will say this. Of course, we're going to focus on the one. If your kid brings home a test and got a 98 out of 100, the first question you're asking is, which one did you miss? I mean, that's the nature of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, but it's also what you hear. It's the rhetoric out there. If you listen to the radio or the TV, if you drive down the road, it's the one thing that's always, I guess, out there. But sometimes you do have to take a step back and do more study. And if 100%. You want to get that 100,
yep.
Son, you might need to study a little bit more. Or you might not, need to spend so much time on the video game, or maybe you were not paying attention in class. So that's what we did over the last several months. Is we took a step back. We did a deep dive in what's causing our insurance rates to be what they are, and I think we're going to come out with a solution to address that. But look, some of the things we can't change. We can't stop hurricanes from coming to Louisiana, but we can help maybe better prepare our structures by the fortified roof program. That's something that is proven to help when it comes to property insurance, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'll tell you this, most people aren't aware of it. When you look at other states with similar demographics, we have a greater population that live in urban areas. And when you look at those urban areas, it's Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. You may even want to argue that why aren't the insurance companies taking these cases to court in those urban areas? Because that's where the most amount of claims are being filed. So, we can't force people, and maybe we don't even want to force people to move out of urban areas, kind of spread where people live across the state. That's just not a reality. But look, we do have a serious problem when it comes to insurance. And I believe in my heart that we are all working together to address these issues.
He is Speaker DeVillier. We'll get him back on as we get closer to this session. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and God bless.